So I believe we are live now. Welcome, everybody. I think I've got a little glitch in the matrix going on. If we could shout out in the comments, if you can see us, if you can hear us. I'm with Matt today. Just want to double check.
Yep, I'm going with the word discombobulated. That's how I feel.
That's okay. Calbot is commenting out. Are we good? Is that good that we're live? I just want to make sure. All right, Miss Swift, seeing here. Thank you so much that we are officially live for today's awesome watch party with Matt is here with me once again. Welcome, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be here.
And so for everybody that is joining me today and Matt, we are watching the theatrical cut. I know there's a director's cut. I have not ever seen the director's cut. So the theatrical cut is about an hour and 40 minutes. And we will be starting after Matt wants to count us down. We are about 10 seconds in at the logo. So depending on what iteration you guys all have, that the logo might look different. You might have Matt. You have what the Time Warner or Warner Brothers.
New Line Cinema, Time Warner. It says a Time Warner company in the.
So we're going to start about 10 seconds in. So, all right, Matt, you want to give us a shout out? We'll count us down.
All right, we'll be counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play.
All right. We are. All right. So, let's just jump right into this today. Let's give a shout out to everybody joining. Let's see. Yes, there's Miss Swift. We have Eric Calbot. Let's see, old Johnny Devick. In the YouTube chat over in Discord, we have Calbot's over there. Eric's there. Let's see. I think Mr. Furzel and Miss Swift might be in the Discord chat as well. So I do realize we are a week away from Easter. I know a couple of you are probably on vacation. Everyone's taking some time off. So we're still going to be doing it next week. And if you can make it, great. I know that Easter is kind of a big deal if you have kids and whatnot. So, all right, Matt, well, let's jump in with the discussion. When did everybody see this? Is this your first time? Should we not do spoilers? Is a 30-year-old movie okay to kind of do spoilers on? Because this is a packed movie with tons to talk about. When did you first see it, Matt?
Like I said, we were trying to discern that earlier, and I'm thinking it was just started hour and a half ago. It looked.
Okay.
I watched this movie to do the pre-watch, and I have no recollection of ever seeing it before. But I've owned the DVD for about 20 years, so it probably seems to be one of those movies where, like, I saw it and said, "Hey, I heard a lot of great things about this. I'll buy this and watch it." And then 20 years later, I unwrap it and watched it.
Well, then there's a reason why it's been sitting on your shelf this whole time. Yeah, so let's see. Eric says, I have seen this but cannot remember a whole lot. Johnny Devick saw it back on DVD. Miss Swift saw it on cable and possibly again in the last year or two. So this did come out in 1988, which for me was a really busy time. But I do remember seeing it on. It was probably a rental or cable back in the day. It was one of those unsung movies for me. I knew about it, but when I watched it for the first time, it was just really weird. And then, of course, a couple years later, The Matrix came out, and you had a bunch of those sci-fi bendy movies. Um, and I think this then got kind of lost in the shuffle with The Matrix kind of dominating cinema for a while with that whole, well, like sci-fi thriller, tech noir, offbeat, off kilter kind of cinema. So yeah, so we're going to revisit it and talk a lot about it. If anybody wants to just shout out stuff they know, stuff they've heard about the movie, stuff that has stuck with them, if anything, um, just go right ahead and shout it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, old Johnny Devick, I
watching,
saw it before The Matrix. It did come out a year or two before The Matrix.
right. It's like 1 year ahead. That's like I'm watching it
Mhm.
going. It's like this has seen. It brought to mind so many other things I've seen to go in where it is the which came first question.
Yes, and so the influences, obviously this, um I think this did influence The Matrix, um but this was very much an original idea at the time. And I do remember it not really succeeding that much at the box office. I do remember it being around a while. um and I don't recall the reviews being, overly kind. But I think there were a couple of the reviewers at the time that gave it the leeway that I think it deserves for being, either ahead of its time or just really off kilter in the mind of the director that put this together. Um, and so, yeah, back in the day, before the internet, we got a lot of the information on our movies from what was printed in the newspaper, talk about it amongst your friends, and also obviously Siskel and Ebert was big at the time. Um, and you really got the gist of the movie from watching some of the reviewers on TV. Um,
Yeah, it's making me recall. Yeah, my how long I don't recall how long my subscription to Starlog magazine was in effect, but that's I'm going. I probably read about this. If I read about it, it was in Starlog.
and you know what? And we did have those publications around for a very long time. And I think some of them are still, as trade magazines, I think. Yeah, and that's really where we got our information. And at lunchtime, around the lunch table or out at recess, man, this would be a topic of conversation. What movie you saw, what movie, your brother and sister saw, your friends saw, what should we go see at the theater? Um, and yeah, as we're introduced to this movie, we're just off kilter. Murdoch, he's waking up, and we are in process of discovering his life, and I think he's in a bit of discovery mode too. Very dark, very gritty. They do take a lot of tips. They took a lot from Blade Runner in the dystopian reality.
Yeah, it does a really good job. This movie really pulls you in, and you don't get up until the ride is over.
Right, because nothing is answered. All we have is a
Right.
bunch of questions. What is Murdoch doing? Who were these guys? Um, this is just so reminiscent of the Cenobites from Hellraiser.
Yeah,
That was my immediate thought process, was they're taken straight out of Hellraiser, you know?
it brought. Yeah, first was that. I'm also seeing. Was it the gentleman from the Hush episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Oh, yep. And so without any foundation of the movie, we're just like off to a running start. Um, yeah, and here we go. Now, I did hear that Jennifer Connelly did do her own singing. Anyone have verification on that? Oh, yes, Miss Swift. And the movie review section on the TV news. Yes. Oh, boy. Back when everything we got from TV, that was back in the cable days, and they had to fill a 24-hour news cycle. And so we are off with, let's see, Jennifer Connelly, the lead actor. I want to say Rufus Sewell, or and Kiefer Sutherland. I'll get this guy's name.
Yeah, with Johnny Devick mentioning the heavy-handed music, I immediately recognized, as whether I had seen it. I don't remember this movie, but I remember the music. So I have a lot of science fiction soundtrack albums that I listen to in the background a lot, and I'm like, that music came on screen, and I'm like, oh, this is where that's from.
Well, we're introduced to just enough lighting in these scenes for there to be the character interaction, but there doesn't seem to be much more lighting. Um,
Well, it is a
and
dark.
well, the name of the movie is Dark City, so that's what we're going to get.
That kind of
Um,
surprised me too at the very beginning when we see everything. All the cars come to a complete stop. I was surprised. I'm going, oh, they're losing power, but why are the lights still on?
well, this is a movie I think we can talk about over and over and around and still not get the whole gist of it. But um, that's what makes movies like this so much fun. And like the Matrix movies, I've seen the Matrix movies dozens and dozens of times, and you can still find little nuggets that you didn't know before, connections, um, references to present day situations. Um, I used to do that all the time with Matrix movies. It was relevant back then, and I think if you watch them today, it could still be relevant today. Um, just like aspects of this movie, which are very dark and creepy, but I don't want to give it away just yet as the story unfolds. Um, okay, so Eric says it says online the theatrical version was lip sync, but the director's cut they used Jennifer's voice. Okay, so that must have been what I had heard. Old Johnny Devick says this is like watching modern Star Trek. Yes, in a way. I think the series Picard was very very gritty like this at times. Yes, Miss Swift. Alex Proas. Is that how you pronounce his name? He was the director. He likes his movies dark. Hmm. So this scene is really interesting. This is our kind of introduction to his character, which is very poignant for who he is later on. But so he goes into this diner, and they just put his wallet in the slot. Um, I guess that's part of his journey about finding who he is, and someone's giving him these little clues as to who he is, what he's doing. And on top of it all, we have a murder mystery, a who done it. Yes, Eric, the color palette they use is very similar to what they used in The Matrix. Yeah, and old Johnny Devick, maybe some of the same crew worked on Matrix in Australia. That's there's got to be some kind of connection, either the same cinematographers or set design worked on it, or they Matrix borrowed heavily from this in the tone and the nature of the movie, even the whole nature of what this movie's about kind of transcended into the Matrix as well. And this was, so we're now in the late 90s with these kind of the gritty sci-fi movies. So I know that they did rely more heavily on CGI aspects rather than practical effects. But if you pay attention, I think you can still see where some of the practical effects are still used. I know Matrix relied heavily on CGI, but there are some of those scenes as well where it's just all practical effects done brilliantly and flawlessly, where you you really can't. Um, well, once you understand how they did it, at the time it was just kind of like mind altering how they did it. Yeah, Johnny Devitt, too early to discuss, but did they had to kill these people to do their research into humanity? Seems too cold even for these bald bastards. Yeah, I think as the movie progresses, that's one of the aspects that we're going to discuss about why things are happening the way they are and why they're happening to these people.
Yeah,
So
as
I'm
for bringing up Johnny Devick, bringing up Fringe, I go, yeah, I need to revisit. I watched that, and that one I need to revisit. That was a good show.
Yeah, that was a good show, and I love the fact that it took its time unveiling the whole story. And I think it went on for 5 seasons, four
Yeah,
or 5 seasons.
yeah. I think I went into that at least rewatched the first season, and then with the knowledge you have of watching the show, you can watch everything. You can see everything that's hidden, and basically it's hidden but in plain sight. I was like, oh, look at all the whatever I think it was the Watcher characters, but it's like, oh, yeah, wow, they're there right from the
Right,
beginning.
right from the beginning. Shows like that are so much fun to watch the first time, and then the second time you watch them through, you catch all of those nuances that were there, but you spend 5 seasons putting together this whole narrative of the show. Then you can go back and pick apart all those things that you miss. Like, how could I have missed it? It was right there.
Yep. And there's also a few shows too that have
Yeah.
such a good reveal, still conclusion to the mystery that you wish you could forget so you could watch it again because it was so
Oh,
good
yeah.
getting to the mystery.
Right. Well, there's nothing like watching a really good TV show or movie come together beautifully. There's nothing like doing that the first time, because then every time after you watch it, you already know how everything is wrapped up. And it's great. You can still pick apart things and appreciate it. But there is nothing like that first aha, wow moment. Um, so yeah, we're getting a little bit more on Murdoch, that he's kind of unaffected by these guys. Notice the reference in that um, billboard to beach. And I think it's a very subtle reference. It comes up later. Oh, I love this scene. We're introduced to these strangers who seem to have a big problem with Murdoch, that he's not cooperating. He's not towing the line.
Yeah. I had to stop. Yeah, try to get this more serious, to stop thinking like, well, this is like a cult of Uncle Festers.
You're absolutely right. Um, Now that you say that, I can't unsee them as Uncle Festers. Um, I was thinking the whole scene reminded me, it still had the feel of The Matrix with that green tone. But yeah, it's like a green Uncle Fester. Well, Murdoch found his wife. Oh, Eric, it would have been so awesome to have Doug Bradley there as one of the characters. And not in pinhead garb, just as one of them with that commanding voice, and we would be able to place him as Pinhead. Um, but yeah, that would have been awesome.
You know, that too. When
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say too, with yeah, with Johnny Devick, they're mentioning the kid, with the chattering teeth like a Xenobite, and I'm just wondering how the movie would have played out if all of the strangers were creepy little kids.
That was creepy. I mean, it's creepy when the Cenobite did it, but now we had a whole room of them doing that. So Murdoch found his wife, and there's just like something off. Um, Dr. Schreiber. Dr. Schreiber. Schreiber. Oh, Miss Swift, Richard O'Brien. Is that who plays the tall man? This guy, Richard O'Brien.
No, no, Richard O'Brien is uh, Riff Raff in Rocky Horror.
Oh, gotcha.
Angus Scrimm is the tall man in Van
Yes.
Damme.
All right. So we're learning more about what makes Murdoch different. He's not he's not going to fall under their spell anymore, and the strangers need to put him back in line. And we could, without going specific, we could take a lot of these themes, a lot of aspects in movies like this, and we could place them into our real life. Um, and we could get very personal with people in our lives that are out to control our behavior and actions and our even our very thoughts. The whole idea about planting subliminal messages slash thoughts slash memories. Um, that's a discussion in and of itself. Yes, Johnny Devick. Their issue is that he won't play their tune. Yep, he's not playing along, and they don't know why. So now, if he won't play by their rules, he will play by their rules by force, and they will go after him.
I always like noticing, when we're talking here, the set design, or this all has a very Noristic, like 40s sensibility. But when we were in the automat, and I'm going, it's like, well, I just seen the other automat was when they used that in the Loki TV show. And it's just interesting how many stories use that, like high tech 50s, or the 40s and 50s set design for what's supposed to be like a high tech futuristic society. I've seen it a lot in they did it in the Umbrella Academy. A lot of stuff uses this trope, I would say.
Right, that is a very good point. By the feel of this movie, um, you would say it's probably the 40s, maybe, but yet there's other aspects that lend it to a different age. Um, it does all, it plays out for a very specific reason, I think, but I don't want to give any spoilers away. Yeah, and there are a lot of movies that do that with like new tech in an old setting. And I think, are you referring to Loki? What season one? I believe, right in the.
Yeah, it's
Um,
kind of muddled between, but it's still that's still that there's always a very low tech system in a high tech world.
right,
It's just a similar vibe I've seen in countless stories use it.
right. Calbot, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's retro futurism.
Yeah, and thanks to Ms. Swift here for pointing out that Richard O'Brien is actually playing the character in this movie of the Stranger, because that's I did not do my homework for this assignment and completely missed it.
Well, the beauty of watching this in a group is I think we all bring our knowledge. So not one person has to know everything because that's what's the fun in that?
Because that's same with James Hurt here, to where he's bringing up more. Now I can't recall the actor's name at the moment.
William
So,
Hurt.
yeah, well, this is William Hurt, but he's reminding me of he played in Babe, played Zeppelin Cochrane in the Star Trek film.
Hmm. Um, oh, yes.
Yeah, come on, Chad. No,
James something. Oh, he was great in Babe. James
thank you,
Cromwell.
thank you.
Yep,
As
that's
I
it, Miss.
know, yeah, I know
Yep.
on my DVD copy of this movie, they're talking about John Hurt, and mentioning, yeah, that he also just, if it was around exactly the same year, but when he played the Lost in Space movie, he was.
Yeah, sadly, William Hurt passed away about, what, 3 years ago. And he was a very prolific actor. I think the last thing I ever saw him in was the TV show Goliath. And he was in, yeah, Goliath season 1, I believe. I don't know if he was in the later seasons. Um, oh, yeah. Johnny Devick makes a comment. Let's not see The Matrix. I wrote 22 pages about that movie for my movie studies years back. Would carpet bomb the chat, and I had maybe twice as much in my notes. Wow. There was a lot to write about The Matrix. I, I don't have it in the rotation. I don't have plans to watch it simply because they are very long. I think the first movie is what, it tops about 2.5 hours. Um, 2 hours and 16 minutes. Oh yeah, Calbot, Richard O'Brien plays Mr. Hand, not to be confused with Ray Walston's character in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yes, that's the stranger that is like at the forefront going after Murdoch is named Mr. Hand. Yeah, Johnny Devick. 1 is 5 stars, 2 and 3 not so much. I think you're referring to the Matrix movies. They went down, I think, in enjoyability for me anyway. And of course, the first one is always at the top. But for anybody that has seen the follow-up Matrix, I think it was Matrix Revolution, which came out a couple years ago. If you're on the fence about whether you want to see it or not, my personal opinion is I think it's too little too late.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I haven't seen that, and I don't remember having a desire to, and until you just repeated its title, I think I've already completely forgotten about it.
Yeah, it maybe something they should have done while the franchise was fresh, but it's not fresh anymore.
Yeah, the Matrix always took me, like everyone thought, it's like, wow, this is again like brand new and innovative concept, but someone, for me growing up in the sci-fi genre for many years prior to that, it was kind of like, yeah, this has been done before. You know, just
Well, I
just not
think
just not in all the, yeah, whatever special effects and
right,
that, but
and I think
the story itself is quite old.
yeah, the foundational story is nothing new, but I think what was revolutionary was some of the special effects and the way they were done. That blew me away, at least. And that was just the first one. Then you get the second, then you get the third, and it gets old really fast because it's not new. You're just
Hmm.
continuing a story and you're trying to add new stuff to it when it really didn't need to go any further. Um, so the previous scene where we saw it, it, he was putting into droppers, mixing different liquids that would eventually be implanted in someone's brain to give them new memories, new past, new thoughts. In essence, how do you brainwash someone with the ideas that you want to give them? I found that fascinating. Yeah, Johnny Devick, we all know and have seen Matrix till death already. Not needed another view.
You know, I think
Yeah.
this gets highlighted here as we go into this scene with the new changes they're about to make. Harkens back to the foreshadowing with Kiefer Sutherland putting the rat in the maze.
Yeah, this scene, um, you actually see them work. You see the strangers at work. And how weird would it be if your whole world was sleeping, everybody and everything has stopped? It's like time itself has stopped, but you haven't. And you're walking through life wondering what the hell is going on. And I don't know if he has grasped the concept that he might be able to change it and wake things up, because he did have that power before to alter to alter his reality. And here we go. This is the tuning. This is what they actually do. Yes, Johnny Devick, this reminds me of the working machine areas in Metropolis.
Like
Yeah,
we're getting a
identity.
little Inception before Inception came out here.
Very much so. Old Johnny Devick did make the comment, identity is an exciting subject. Why are we who we are? How did we get there? It's just basic human interest. Exactly. And how would we know if we if we were part of this kind of experiment? How would you know unless you were awake to know that you were part of this? And this goes back to the whole idea of the matrix. What is our reality? How do we perceive it? Is it really our reality, or is it something someone has planted? And how would we know that if we were living in this alternate universe, alternate reality that was planted by someone? How would we know unless we were awake and out of it?
Yeah, this just begs the question of like identity is always on my mind as I drive to work and someone cuts me off in traffic, going, "Who does that thing? What's wrong with you?" How do certain people behave that way?
Right. Well, we're bombarded with images, with ideas, with words. We're bombarded by all of this every day, not injected directly into our brain like these they're using syringes, but it's still coming into our lives through our eyes, our ears, what we can touch, what we can taste. This is all making us who we are.
You know, I was going to say we're
So,
spoon fed. We're spoon fed that
right.
with phone apps.
So, how much of that is altering our reality without us even realizing it? So, it's easy for a movie to use that idea and show it as a practical idea of the syringe. We're going to inject them into their brain, but it's a bigger concept, right? Of everything that comes into our world to make us who we are and the way that we interpret it. And they'll even change your house. The strangers will give you a bigger house if you want.
This with that needle syringe going directly into what appeared to be the pineal gland also was bringing back the From Beyond movie.
That's right. Oh, Calbot, yes. Identity from 2003 would be a good watch party. That's that's a good one. I discovered that movie years ago by accident, and it has stayed with me. Um, there's also one. Have we ever talked about Frailty? I think Frailty came out a couple years after that as well. Just a little underground movie. Came upon it, and it stuck with me. I might have to put Identity on the list. So you kind of get the feeling the doctor, even though he works for the strangers, doesn't really approve of what he has to do for them. But I think he's stuck doing it against his will. Oh, yes, Cowbot. Frailty in 2001 is a good one too, directed by Bill Paxton, who also stars in it. Okay, so Frailty came out before Identity. Yeah, Frailty was not really well known. I think I came across it as a rental or it was on cable or something. I think Matthew McConaughey, before really hit it big, um, really did a good job. And I think who else is in that? Treat Williams, I believe. Um, yeah, Bill Paxton. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, all star cast. But I won't give anything away because we might actually have that as a watch party. Um,
Yeah, we're starting to cross the line where I stopped watching movies. always, always put that line right back, right to the 20th century. I go, yeah, I know everything from the 80s really well,
right.
70s and 80s, and then kind of lost. Start, yeah, the 90s was me being an adult and working,
Yeah. Yeah, I hear
and
you.
then anytime after that, I'm just old and can't stay awake to watch a movie.
Or it takes you a couple days, watch it in
Yeah,
parts. Yep.
yeah. Where it's like, yeah, where I've just seen the opening and end credits of every movie afterwards.
Well, good. If we do more recent movies, then we might all be treated to like a first time watch. Um, I think the ones that we've been watching have all been from the 80s and 90s for the most part. Yeah, we did do a couple from the 70s. Um, but yeah, there's no reason why we can't do more recent ones to bring us all into the movies of today. But I
I
hear
like,
ya.
yeah, we're still going to say we're going to watch a movie from 2001 and call that recent. That was still,
Mhm.
yeah, 24 years ago.
Right. But I hear you. When I started having children in the late 90s, um, forget it. I think I went to the movies like once or twice. But so everything else had to be on a rental, watch it late night on cable when I had some time. Yeah, but I think that's just our us older folks. Any of you youngsters out there, if you're still able to, have time to have a life, go to the movies, you should. Seeing movies in the theater is a real treat. So there is a relentless pursuit now for John Murdoch. Oh, old Johnny Devitt, kids made me throw away my surround system. Same here. I had a killer sound system. It would just make the whole room vibrate. And I gave it up when my kids were little. Oh, Calbot, Powers Booth. He was in Frailty, right? Not Treat Williams. It was Powers Booth. I think you're right. So it's always night. It's always night in this city, and nobody seems to comment. That's a pretty cool effect. And I'm guessing them floating through the air like that was probably a CGI effect. This is almost reminiscent to me of him trying to get to Shell Point of The Truman Show, where his desire to leave the area was met with resistance on every angle. So you wonder why? Why can't he go to Shell Point? Why is it not well known? And also in the Truman Show, why? Obviously, if you've seen the Truman Show before, I'm not giving any spoilers. Why did they not want him to leave his home? They would block him from leaving, but yet he was determined to go. So I'm sensing the same kind of theme here, him wanting to break free and go to where he thinks is a safe place from his memory. Well, he wants to get to the beach. I wonder if this guy that he's talking to is he an illusion, or is he part of this? He can't be part of the system, I think, because he's telling Murdoch some truths and not in line with what the strangers would have implanted.
Well, yeah, he's another person who, um, stayed awake during one of their sleep periods. because he's the detective we saw earlier with the he's trying to unravel the mystery. He's got all the papered room. He's that detective.
Oh, the same detective. Okay. So now we know Murdoch is not alone. Yes, Eric, it looked like he vanished instead of being hit by the train.
Yeah, I think that's
It
left there.
did.
I think to go. It's like, oh, did he actually escape? Like he said, he knew how to get out.
If he was like Murdoch, maybe jumping in front of a train was merely an act. But yeah, this is just part of the story unfolding. So it's apparent that nobody is mentioning the fact that it's always dark, maybe because of the fact that they've never seen light and they wouldn't know what daytime was. And this is their reality, so they wouldn't know anything else. So is it becoming clearer who has been killing the prostitutes? I think they've still been investigating it, but that story's kind of taken a back seat. Yeah, good point, Johnny Devick. They had to be taken as children to not know the sun. Ah, is he the murderer? And that is, well, I don't want to give it too much away, but there's a little clue as to what what next week's movie is. We have, I think we have 2 more weeks of April, right? And then we're beginning getting into May. Um, so I've been working on a little something for summertime, a little themed, um, maybe starting in May, I think, May and June. We'll do a little something different. Maybe May, June, July, we'll call summertime. Although June, July, and August are usually summertime. But why not? We'll do something a little different. Yeah, Johnny Devick, this looks like a lair that the Joker would have.
I said it's all fish themed. So you mean the penguin?
Good one. And this is where the his thought about the beach, Shell Beach. So you wonder, did he really go to the beach, or was it all just memories implanted? Well, I think the plot thickens. He doesn't have that scar. So, what would anybody assume? That it wasn't him in the photo? That his memories of that are fake? Doesn't it make you question how reliable are our memories? Oh, good one, Johnny Devick. He was lied to. It's a shell company.
This is almost to see them start questioning their existence is kind of like wondering someone who's written a book or drawn a comic to actually have your characters coming to life.
Well, that is interesting because, yeah, we are at the point where you're just questioning, you would just question everything because what you thought you knew, you didn't know. And so isn't this kind of a circular argument? How do you know what you don't know if you don't know what you don't know, or you don't know what you're supposed to know, or you think you know, but it's not really reality? So, what is reality if you can't remember it? Um, and all of your memories get altered, then what is reality?
Yeah.
Oh boy,
That's
that was deep.
with Johnny Devick there talking, using tattoos to remember each tune. That's also bringing back, because I was also in Doctor Who with the characters of the Silence, where they had to put the hash marks covered all over their bodies.
So what happens, yeah, even with tattoos, what happens if, so you're supposed to remember based on the tattoos, but that memory gets altered? Yes, Miss Swift, memento. Yep.
Well, how many people in our reality wake up the next morning and can't remember why they got a tattoo?
That's true. And if you can't remember why you got the tattoo and what it's supposed to signify, boy, we're just frail human beings, aren't we?
That's also, if it's still trying to hold this thought till the end, but it's like, is this entire experiment screwed because of that ideal that the characters they're creating aren't sticking to the script?
Right. And all it takes is one person to mess with the program. Yeah, Johnny Devitt, 15-minute memory must be the worst. Like where you have 15 minutes and then you forget. And so you're living in 15-minute increments over and over and over again.
And I said, that's just me getting up, trying to go to work, and I can't like, did I
Yeah.
do this? Show up to work where I have to like suddenly go, wait a second, am I wearing pants? Can't remember. Can't remember.
Yeah. And we all have those moments you wake up, what day is it?
Uh,
And you swear it's a Thursday, but no, it's a Wednesday. And it's an interesting, in this movie, his life is the one that's in most turmoil because he's the one that knows something is going on. Everybody else can just kind of live their happy little lives, not knowing any different. And when things in their life change, oh well. But he knows something is going on and he's got to resolve it in order to
Yep.
I guess
Again,
in order to continue his life.
yep. Same now we're also getting with the Matrix here. It's like, yeah, do we want the
Right.
red pill or the blue pill?
So yeah, we've got a little bit of an exposition here as to what's going on with these experiments. That's interesting what he said about using the dead as vessels. So if he means like literal dead, figurative dead. And who out there would red pill it, or who would blue pill it? Who would, if that reality was to confront you in reality, that your reality is not really reality, would you want to just continue living? Or would you want to live in the actual reality? It's a pretty heavy topic.
Yep. Now we get the creepy little kid here too. It brought back Ilea from Dune.
He has a creepy little kid. Yeah, Johnny Devick, maybe they were all just heavy drinkers. Ain't that the truth? So these strangers obviously don't count on the fact that since everybody goes to sleep at the same time and wakes up, they wouldn't start cluing in on that by talking to one another and maybe uncovering this charade a long time ago. Yeah, Johnny Devitt, this could be like the cultural revolution in China. Doesn't matter what you are good at, re-roll and start over in something else. Here's a question I'll throw out to the chat. When was the last time you saw a movie in the theaters? And whenever that was, what was the cost of a ticket? It could be like matinee. I know matinees are cheaper. Opening night, Friday nights, evenings are expensive. What's a ticket going for these days? And I'm wondering how it compares to some of the streaming services that let you rent movies in the theaters for it's like $20 or something. I think, and for 30 you can own it on streaming, I think.
Yeah, it's still not getting me how much they're charging. That they're charging, yeah, like a full movie ticket price to watch streaming. I still can't
Yeah.
wrap my head around who's going for that.
I, I mean, I get it. They've got to recoup their money somehow. And instead of people going to the theater, they have to hit you where you are. So maybe they figure the consumer would consider it not so much the money aspect as in going to the theater. And of course, during the pandemic, you couldn't. So that was when this whole thing started. Calbot, last time I went to the theater was January 2020, pre-pandemic. And Johnny Devick, went to Paddington 3, and the price, well, 10 use, but it was a movie festival day, so $10, Paddington 3. Yeah, Johnny Devick, it's 20 US. I think that's probably what they're going for these days. It's a far cry from. Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. I used to go to the movies all the time in the 80s, and it
Yeah,
was maybe, I think, $6
and
at
double feature.
night. Yeah, it was like 6 or 7 for the main feature at night, and then like a matinee would be 4, something like that.
Yeah, I was trying to remember going to an actual, first release would have been, I saw Deadpool and Wolverine,
Oh yeah.
and then had to buy my tickets like through, the online app, and thinking maybe it was, for 2 tickets, maybe 32. So I think it was, around $16 to go see the show. But my most recent, live theater experience was just, a few. Now we're hitting about 6 months ago. It would have been, it was October when I was at my local convention, and they had Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, fantastic.
So I saw that, and that was probably $10 at our local movie house, playing all the oldies but goodies.
Oh, wow, wonderful. Um, Johnny Devick saw Deadpool and Wolverine with a friend. We need to pay at the cinema because the web service at 2 US on top. Ugh. Miss Swift, I've been to the movies in the last year or two. Can't remember for which movie, but it was like $22, something 3D and IMAX. Oh,
Yeah, that
yeah, they're still making 3D and IMAX.
that was the strange thing too, because we went. It was me and my friend, from buddies from the '80s, went out to see the show, and we're not ready for all these new age challenges because we walked into the theater and the box office was closed, and then we walked in. You had to walk up to the snack bar and then try to buy tickets to go see it, to find out, oh, you got to do that online. And
Oh,
you could, and then my buddy wanted to buy popcorn, but they wouldn't take cash.
oh my goodness.
So
Times are
we're like,
changing, aren't they?
yep. It's like,
Wow.
what world are we living in? Oh my goodness.
So we've got about half an hour left of the movie. And it's moving along, but there are some slow parts. It's not like an action movie and it goes. Um, but the story is slowly resolving itself, and I think we're almost at the point where Murdoch is just gonna to hit the evolution of the story and to get to its conclusion. Yeah, absolutely. Do not trust the doctor.
It's again interesting scene that just played out there that'll spoil the end of the movie. So I'll try to
Right.
remember once we get to that point to talk about it again.
So yeah, whether or not you can trust the doctor, he's already shown that he is working for the strangers kind of against his will, but does that mean he would be on your side? Not necessarily. Oh, Miss Swift, my family has a tradition of going to the movies on Thanksgiving, so I see at least one movie a year in the theaters. I think 3D IMAX one was something I saw at home with a friend. Yeah, I've known people that do that on either Thanksgiving or Christmas. They'll go see a movie. And I know Thanksgiving is a big year for it used to be for big movies to be released. And we should do something this Thanksgiving. We'll do something special themed. Johnny Devitt took his students to Charlie's Angel Full Throttle some years back. I can never forgive myself. Thank you for that because that's a movie I have not seen, and I don't think I will. Yeah, I'll never ever see it, Johnny Devitt. So this was a big reveal that yeah, Murdoch, this was not his only life. So yeah, now we have a little bit more exposition of who the strangers are, what they've been doing. Yeah, this is very matrixy with the big powerful um, force that is manipulating humans. Yeah, that's a good one, Calbot, over in Discord. I like that. We built this city. So yeah, in essence, that's what he's saying. These strangers have built this, constructed this, and have been using humans. So if the doctor had his memories changed, how trustworthy would he be? But as we know from watching the movie, what he's saying has fit with the plot points along the way.
Yeah, I don't think we get a definite answer to, have they been taken from elsewhere? Are they just creations in the experiment? I don't think that gets resolved.
No, like where these humans originate from, where the Matrix really makes it clear that from the creation of the human, the computers were in control of the growth and using them as fuel, as batteries. But yeah, here, I mean, were they taken? Were they dead? As the reference earlier in the movie, we use the dead. Are they the humans bred by these strangers?
Yeah, because I always liked that. That was a good point in the Matrix where they said that, yeah, they created the perfect world, and that's why it didn't work.
Right.
Humanity couldn't accept perfection.
Yeah, Johnny Devick, SimCity 3000 for real. Yeah, Miss Swift posted in Discord the game SimCity. That's a fun game, creating a city from scratch. Yeah, Eric, it's like a dark version of the Truman Show in essence. Yeah, there's a lot of that foundation there. But this kind of blows me away when they finally break free from the boundary, the physical boundary of their world. You have the universe. You have just open sky. So aliens, aliens perhaps? Is that what we're supposed to think? Is there aboard some alien spacecraft? There you have it. So we're getting the first world of reality, the first glimpse of their reality. Yeah, Johnny Devitt, Truman Show mixed with Bruce Almighty. That's an interesting comparison there. So it is interesting. It puts a whole new twist on this sci-fi. I think it's just, you could say it's just a bunch of aliens toying with people, bringing them into their ship to toy with them. But is it really just that easy to explain that? Yeah, Jody Devick, space, the final frontier, going where no tuned person has gone before. And they're still trying to find out what makes Murdoch different, why they can't control him.
Are we getting a little bit of a into the realm of Terry Gilliam's Brazil here at the end?
And Miss Swift posted on Discord the movie The 13th Floor, 1999 science fiction film written and directed by Joseph Rusnak and produced by Roland Emmerich. Loosely based on Daniel Galou's 1964 Simulacron 3. It is a remake of Rainier Werner Fassbinder's 1973 miniseries World on a Wire. I have not heard of that. Is
That,
this
that one is, yeah, I hadn't heard of that either.
interesting? It stars Craig Bierko, Gretchen Mol, Armin. And then it goes on. Interesting. Is there some link to that movie here? Is it kind of loosely based?
Are these all showing the same as we're approaching? Yeah, as they're all approaching 1999 is still that apocalypse theme that the world is over.
Oh, oh yeah. Everyone thought that technology was going to collapse at the turn of the century, and it didn't. The world was just fine on January 1st, 2000. Oh, Miss Swift had the misfortune of coming out the same year as The Matrix and tackling a similar concept of what's real. Yeah, The Matrix really would have overshadowed everything else. Oh, Calbot, yeah, that GIF on the A Team. I have that theme song in my head now. That was classic. So yeah, aren't we approaching like the final confrontation? And it's Murdoch and against the stranger. I think Mr. Hand in particular. Because really there has to be just one left standing. They both can't exist in the same world. Yeah, this is a pretty intense fight scene as the facade, as the reality that was created is falling apart. Oh yes, Miss Swift. It's like how Stir of Echoes got knocked out of the box office by The Sixth Sense. Absolutely. Stir of Echoes um, was a very solid movie. And we didn't do a watch party on that, have we? I don't think so. I remember I've seen it within the last year or so, but I don't think it was at a watch party.
No, it's not a movie I've seen, so doesn't
Oh,
hasn't been
really?
done.
It was pretty much overlooked at the box office, but it was so good.
We're getting a little Highlander here at the end.
Exactly. There can only be one. Yeah, because their realities, their opposing realities cannot exist. And someone's got to go.
And I thought too, when I saw this, I'm like, why is the Daily Planet suddenly here?
So the foundation of these strangers, is it kind of like the one collective, like the Borg? And if you take out a certain element of it, it would disrupt the whole collective.
It seemed what they were going for, but they kind of, especially with the Mr. Hand character, seemed to be acting individually. So the collective mind kind of yeah, didn't really see it.
Yeah, because it almost appeared that there was a collective consciousness, but you wouldn't be able to destroy that by just taking out one aspect of it. But yes, John has defeated the machines in essence. But not really destroyed him. He just is now, he controls their machine. So now he's taking their place in essence. He's the master of the machines now.
Yep. Is that's where it's like, yeah, the movie had me riveted, so riveted that I said, oh man, the conclusion's not going to give me what I want, is it? And it's just like, yeah, it was like, yeah, hope you forgot all those questions you had with this riveting mental battle
Right.
and special effects we're going to show you, and then we'll just give you some more questions to think about.
Exactly. You're going to leave you with more questions than answers. Um, yeah, Johnny Devick, they're Borg-ish. Yes. Yeah, Miss Swift. So who's the master? It's the whole, who's the master and the slave, that whole question that they presented in the Matrix too. So if John is in charge now and he's mastered their machines and can do what they did, would he then set everybody free or continue on and just make everybody's life nicer? And that's the same kind of topic that the Matrix um, worked through as well, when they got to the point of what do you do with everybody still kind of trapped in the prepared reality for them? Do you get them? Do you bring them awake against their will? Uh, How do you do that? And same here. What do you do with all these people that are still under the control?
I don't want to ride the bus for a quarter.
I think back in the day it used to be a quarter, and now it's about what, $2, $1.50.
Uh, I know
So
here I've so far avoided having to call Uber. And the times I thought it would be necessary, I'm going like, good Lord, how much is this going to cost?
yep. And you can still get on a bus. If you're in a nice big metropolitan area, you can get on a bus for just a couple bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So he has the power now. So he's creating, he's the master now. And he's going to create the world that suits him. That's interesting. He said, are you sure that's what we want? Well, there you, yeah, that was very poignant. And the strangers aren't going to find any part of humanity in the brain, I guess. So what exactly were they looking for? The part of the person that makes the person? They were looking for what? The soul, our essence, and they couldn't find it. Well, I'm just going to make this fun comment, that the strangers have created a flat Earth. You'll notice it was just flat, not cylindrical. Yes, Miss Swift, our soul or persona. Yeah. So here is John's creation. It looks better. I'm sure it feels better. But is it just continuing on what the strangers did, but just giving them a more pleasant surrounding?
If they continued on with the second movie, we'd now just discover they broke through the first shell, but now they're trapped in the world with the other aliens who are trying to figure out the
Gee.
strangers.
Oh, oh, geez, wouldn't that just been horrific had they just made a sequel? Oh, please don't
Yeah,
tell me they made a sequel. Oh
yeah,
God.
that'd be the ending. The Men in Black when the all the universe is just encased in a marble. The kid aliens are playing with.
So he created his beach. Wow, there you have it. Ah, very interesting. I felt like I gave my mind a bit of a workout today. Um, yeah, Miss Swift, flat Earth. That's exactly what I was thinking. It was just a flat Earth. All right,
I think,
guys.
yeah, I think that was a good movie for me too. For it's going to like, yeah, I can't wait to rewatch this movie I've never seen before,
And if you
or
revisit
had
it,
I seen it before? Did I forget something? Did I fall asleep? Am I in a different reality? What's going on?
yep, yep, and you go back and rewatch it, and you might find a little bit of nugget here and there to kind of give give some of the ending away, or make more of a discussion. Put your brain, give your brain a workout. Yeah, I like these kind of movies. Not all the time, of course. We need some levity, um, and we need some horror. We need some thriller. We need some drama and comedy in life. And yeah, so what did you all think? If this was your first time, what'd you think? If this was not your first time, what'd you think? And I'm welcome to read all your comments, good or bad. Yeah, what'd you think, Matt?
Yeah, so like I said, it was, yeah, very, very intriguing story. And like I said, just, and I don't know how to create it, the end itself, but I knew it's like, and I see this with a lot of things I watch where all the writers of the stories can come up with a really good predicament, but not many of them can resolve it to where we end up with just wave a magic wand ending, the
Right.
Dos Ex Machina.
Right. Um, I think the ending could have gone in many different ways, but there was a solid ending. It was a somewhat predictable ending. I think it was solid, very well done. Yeah, Eric, I loved it. Visually, it's great, and story wise, it's very interesting. I agree. Visually, it was very stunning. Um, and I mean, doing a deep dive in that story, I mean, what's not to love? Yeah, Miss Swift, nice revisit and seeing all the way it may have inspired other films. Yep, Johnny Devick, it's a bit bleak, and I feel the murder mystery in the start kind of just is there. Yeah, I think they kind of resolved it, but it was all set up by the strangers, I believe, as another test, I think, to test the humans, but they really didn't pan it out, I think. Um, Calbot says, I find it has a lot of interesting pieces, but the whole is somewhat lacking. Another way, it's a lot like the Matrix movies. Fair point. Fair point. Um, all right. Well, let's wrap today's watch party up. Tomorrow, we're going to go a little bit lighter, a little bit of levity. And we are going to be watching the 1985 comedy Clue. Classic. Now, the interesting thing about Clue is I remember when this hit the theater, and there were, I think, 3 or 4 rotating endings that, depending on, it was just all randomized in the theaters, what ending you got. So there's no way that we're going to say, okay, well, then we want a certain ending for us all to watch next week. I think get the copy that you have, get the copy that you can find. It's on the streaming services if you don't have a physical copy. Um, it's a fun movie. It's very entertaining, all-star cast. And then when we get to the ending, we could all have fun with it. And there you go.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that one back in the day, and it's like, yeah, when you went to the theater, they would hand you a little card to tell you which version you're going to see. And I still have that little ticket stub.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I don't have my ticket stub. That was back in the heyday. 85 was, I was just smack dab in high school, enjoying life. So this was one of the ones that I got to see, but I cannot remember anything about what ending I saw, because I've seen the different iterations afterwards. So eventually you see all the endings, but I couldn't tell you which one I saw in the theater. So anyway, we are going to be enjoying a bit of Clue next week. So grab your copy and we'll do it again next week. Thank you all so much for joining us. It's been my pleasure to do this every week. And thank you, Matt, for joining me today.
Yep, always fun as always.
All right. We will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.